happened on a gray Tuesday morning, the kind of morning where the sky looks like it's made of wet concrete and the air feels heavy enough to crush you. I was sitting in my cramped apartment in Seattle, sipping lukewarm coffee and staring at my bank account like I did every day. Balance, $74.12. Rent was due in 5 days. I had bought the lottery ticket as a joke. I didn't even believe in luck. Not the good kind anyway. It was a quick pick slip from the corner store down on Pike Street, bought while I was grabbing milk and cheap instant ramen. $2 gone, forgotten, until that morning. The winning numbers flashed across the TV screen, bright and cheerful in a way that didn't match the dull ache of my life. One by one, the numbers matched mine. My hands started to shake. By the time the last number hit, I couldn't breathe. $2 million, not a cent less. Tax deductions aside, it was more money than I had ever dreamed of having. I laughed, but it wasn't joy. It was the kind of laugh you let out when you know something's about to change in ways you can't control. I knew instantly that I wouldn't tell anyone. Not my mother, not my sister, not even my best friend from high school, because deep down I already knew the truth. People are kind when you're poor, but kindness has a price tag. That night, lying in bed, I imagined telling my family. I pictured my sister pretending to be happy for me while mentally adding up how much she could borrow. I pictured my mother's disappointed face when I refused to buy her a new house. I even pictured my so-called friends suddenly remembering my birthday for the first time in years. Number I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I decided to test them. I'd let them think I was still broke, and I'd see what they were capable of when they thought I had nothing. The next morning, I woke up to the same peeling paint on the ceiling, the same draft leaking in through the cracked window, the same creaky sound from the upstairs neighbor's dog pacing back and forth. Except now, there was $2 million sitting in a private account under my name. I didn't go to work that day. Instead, I brewed coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and wrote down everything I needed to do, carefully, methodically. 1. Don't change lifestyle. No new clothes, no new car, no sudden vacation. People notice those things. 2. Keep working, at least for now. Nothing triggers suspicion like quitting your job overnight. 3. Transfer winnings slowly. I'd open a separate account at a different bank, maybe even in a different state. No one could trace it unless I let them. 4th watch, listen, test, subtle experiments, small lies, gentle nudges to see who would help and who would exploit me. By noon, the plan was sealed in my mind. That same day, I called my sister, Claire. She picked up on the 3rd ring, sounding out of breath. "Hey, what's up?" she asked. "Nothing much," I said casually. "Just things are kind of tight right now. I might need a little help with rent next month." There was a pause, too long to be just a signal delay. "Oh," she said finally. "Well, I'm a bit strapped too, but maybe I can spare $50. 50 out of the thousands she spent on designer handbags and bottomless brunches. I thanked her anyway, but inside I marked her name with a mental red flag. Next, I tested my mother. She'd always prided herself on helping her children no matter what, but I had my doubts. "Hey, Mom," I said, "do you think I could stay at your place for a couple weeks, just until I get back on my feet?" Her tone was warm at first, then hesitant. "Of course, honey, but you know your stepdad doesn't like house guests. It might be awkward." Translation: "You're welcome, but you'll be an inconvenience." By evening, I knew I had made the right choice. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about seeing the truth. The kind of truth you can't unsee once it's in front of you. And if I was right, that truth would be ugly. Ugly enough to deserve payback. At first, nothing seemed different. I still clocked in at the hardware store at 8 a.m., still stocked shelves, still endured my manager's endless monologues about team spirit. But once I started watching closely, I saw it. Tiny cracks in the way people treated me. Claire, my sister, suddenly started texting me links to side hustles and money-making opportunities. She never directly offered to help, but she dangled the idea that I should work harder, as if my financial struggles were my fault. Mom called less often. When she did, it was to remind me about family events. Events that always seemed to involve bringing food or helping with chores. No one asked if I was okay. No one offered more than the bare minimum. Then there was my so-called best friend Mark. We'd known each other since high school, and he'd been with me through everything. Breakups, job losses, hangovers. But when I casually mentioned that my hours at work had been cut, he said, "Man, that sucks. But hey, at least you don't have kids to feed." It wasn't sympathy, it was dismissal. I realized the test was working. They thought I was still broke, and instead of rallying around me, they were slowly pulling away. The first real crack came from Claire. One Friday night, she invited me over for wine and catching up. I knew her well enough to know it wasn't about sisterly bonding. Sure enough, after 2 glasses, she leaned in and said, "You know, I was thinking, you should sell that old car of yours and invest in crypto. I know a guy who can double your money in a month." I almost laughed. My old car was barely worth $1,200. "I'll think about it," I said. But she pressed harder, offering to introduce me to her friend for a small fee. That was the first time I saw it clearly. Greed just beneath the surface. At work, my manager offered me overtime if I'd help him out with some personal moving. No pay, just goodwill. I said no. It was almost fun, watching the subtle ways people tried to extract value from me. 2 weeks into my experiment, the real betrayals began. Mark invited me to a poker night with his buddies. Halfway through, when I was down $100, I noticed them exchanging looks. Tiny smirks when I made a bet. They were cheating, not to win big, just to take a little more from someone they thought was desperate. When I left, Mark clapped me on the back. "Tough luck, man, but that's the game." I walked away without a word, but inside I was taking notes. It happened on a rainy Wednesday. I got home from work to find my apartment door slightly ajar. Nothing was stolen, except the envelope I kept in my desk with $200 in cash for emergencies. The lock wasn't broken, only 2 people had keys, my landlord and my mother, and I didn't believe for a second it was the landlord. I confronted Mom over dinner that weekend. "What? No, of course not," she said too quickly. "I'm just saying, someone had a key," I replied. Her eyes darted away. That's when I decided this wouldn't just be a test anymore. It would be payback. The plan was simple. I'd make them believe I had come into a small sum, just enough to trigger greed without making them suspicious. I'd let each one dig their own hole, then pull the ground out from under them. For Claire, I'd dangle an investment opportunity. For Mom, a loan to help her out. For Mark, a fake gambling debt he could help me with. I'd record every conversation. Claire was first. I told her I'd gotten a $10,000 bonus at work and wanted her advice. She immediately pitched me her crypto scam again, this time saying she'd manage it for me. I transferred her $5,000 from a separate account. Money I'd never expect back. A week later, I asked for it. She claimed it was locked in the market and would take months to recover. I showed her the recording. Her face turned white. Mom was next. I offered her $3,000 for medical bills. A day later, I found out she'd booked a weekend trip to Vegas. When I confronted her, she accused me of spying on her. Mark fell for it too. I told him I owed $2,000 to a dangerous guy. He offered to help, but only if I sold my car to split the risk. Once I had all the evidence, messages, recordings, receipts, I sent them each the same message. "I won $2 million in the lottery 2 months ago. You were my test. You failed." I blocked their numbers. I closed my old accounts. I moved to a new apartment in another city. It's been 6 months. I haven't heard from any of them. Not an apology, not a word. But I don't need one. I learned the truth, and I acted on it. The money sits in investments now, untouched except for what I need. I live quietly, alone. And every so often, when I see a lottery ticket, I smile. Because winning didn't change who I was. It just showed me who they were.